without delay, let's meet the courageous women of Fort Mose.
Well, hello. Good afternoon and welcome again. It's just so nice. You look so good out there. I'm glad that you came. I hope that you will find that this is enjoyable, certainly entertaining, and maybe even just a little bit informative. You know, a lot of people are not aware that the original Underground Railroad did not go straight to Canada. It was not the destination for the northern states. The first Underground Railroad came south to Spanish La Florida. Specifically, it came here to St. Augustine. In 1686, around about that time, there was a rumor, just a rumor floating through the plantations and the rice paddies up in the British Carolina, Georgia area, that if an enslaved person could make it down to Florida, La Florida, they could have sanctuary. Now, there was no mention of the word freedom. It was just perhaps they would have a chance for a better life. There was no decree, nobody had written anything. But a few brave people were willing to do whatever they had to do just for the chance. Our Spanish records record that in 1687, or a few years later, the first freedom seekers arrived here in St. Augustine. It's recorded that there were 2 women, 8 men, and a child, a girl of somewhere between 6 months to 2 years old. They made a dangerous journey from the Carolina coast down to St. Augustine in a wooden open canoe. No navigation, no maps. These 11 people managed to make it from the Carolinas to St. Augustine. When they got here, actually they were welcome. The only provision that the Spanish government placed on them was that they had to convert to Catholicism. And obviously they did that. There are records that show, for example, that the baby, the child, was baptized a few years later. But the success that these people encountered, of course, gave others inspiration to make that same trip, to try to make it to Florida for freedom. Now, the first people that came here were not residents of Fort Mose. As a matter of fact, it was 50 years after the first arrivals before the Spanish government of St. Augustine decided that they would build a fort on the northern edge of the town, and that place would serve as the first line of defense against the constantly occurring raids from the British from Carolinas and Georgia. That was the beginning of Fort Mose. The people that you're going to meet here this afternoon, the ladies, are some of the later arrivals. You're going to meet a grandmother, a granddaughter, and 3 or 4 of their friends who also were familiar with the life at that time. So I want you to relax. I want you to imagine that you're sitting out in a nice patch of grass on a nice balmy southern day, and you're kind of listening and eavesdropping as these women remember some of their life experiences, as they think about life before the trip to Charlotte, to the Carolinas, as they think about what it took to be able to leave that environment and what life was like here in St. Augustine at Fort Mose. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to the courageous women of Fort Mose.
We have good time.
Yes.
We like to talk. We have good time.
Good times, only
So
good times.
we have good
Mama.
time all the time. We were having a good time back then. Because that's what we do. Now, he told you about what happened to the first people who came here, but there was a lot of history before. So I was going to tell you. Now, this courage that got us here took a lot of courage. So we made it here. So I'm going to tell you the story from the beginning, okay? Now, my grandparents were from Benin. My grandma told me about that. I didn't know nothing about that. She told me we were from Benin, and we traveled and journeyed till we got to the Gambia, and then we got to Senegal. So I was born in Senegal. Oh, it's a beautiful place. In Dakar. And right outside of Dakar, we had a nice little home there. And, we had a good time. You see us laughing now? We're talking about that. Because we have a great time.
Yes.
But, before the sun come up, my papa and his friends would go out to the sea. And you know what they do? They catch some fish. They catch grouper, red snapper, barracuda. Oh, and they bring it in a big net and bring it home to mama. Oh, she smiled when she saw it, and we were just giggling. You know, we were young girls. We just giggled one night because we knew we were going to have a good dinner. Okay? So it was in a big pot, and she'd have it lit up. And she cut up the fish, and then she put some herbs on it. And I'm going to let Makiba tell you how she cooked it and what she did.
Oh, Grandmama, you know, thank you so much. Thank you for all the knowledge, everything you teach us, everything we need to know about the food, how it was so the one thing that kept us healthy and nourished. The green beans, the squash, the black-eyed peas. Now these you have to soak them before because they're dry. It takes a time. Everything takes a time. We have to catch the fire, build it, collect all the food. Grandmama, remember that fish you were talking about?
Yeah.
All the herbs we would pick?
Yeah.
Yes, we have to collect it all. Ground it all up.
Right.
Have it soak for hours to get that right flavor. Have it to be right for our body.
Right.
It's very important.
Right.
And I thank you.
But then you got the corn. What you do with the corn? Tell us about that.
Yes. Grandmama, you know, I am learning. I am granddaughter. You see the dry corn, we have to ground it, pound it. Everything was through a mortar and pestle or stone. Either you ground it or you pound it. There's no blender. There's no electricity. Right? It takes us a long time just to get the food ready. By the time that food is ready, you're so hungry, you can't stop. Everybody together. Yeah? We have to go pick the herbs, dry the herbs, and also those herbs we use for the medicine. And as we came here on our journey, escaping from the Carolinas, that's one of the things that we learned about coming into Florida from the natives. They show us the medicine, they show us all the food. It's all over here.
Right. Yeah.
Everywhere. You have pain, infection, for food. The bay leaf, it's growing right now on our site at Fort Mose, where we came. Yes?
I want to get back to that food because I like food, you know. So we would let
when you get hungry, you can't wait for that food.
We let that food in the pot cook all day, almost. And then in the evening, like she said, that we would grab it with our hand, and it was delicious food. Okay. Now we didn't just eat. You know, we had to pray to Allah 5 times a day. And by the time we had dinner, I had prayed 3 times already, okay? Because Allah was our God. And he said to be good and generous to everybody. And we would. Anybody we were kind to, we loved and whatnot. So that's what we did. Now, we didn't just eat or pray to Allah. We also did some work. And the work we did was when the cotton was done, we made cloth.
Yes.
oh, this cloth we made because we were going to sell it. So I decided one day that we were going to make blue cloth. Now my sisters were sitting there next to me. No, I don't want blue, I want another color. So they went to Mama. And they said, Mom, big sister wants a blue, but we want a different color. And my mama said, she's the oldest. You listen to your big sister. They didn't like that. But anyway, I put a little, when we did it with the paint and whatnot, I put a little red in it for, trying to be nice. But it was blue. But we made all colors. As you see, all the clothes that African women wear is colorful, and it comes from working hard on that.
And Grandmama, remember, those colors, we also get them all from the woods and the trees.
Right.
Like the indigo, we get our blue from that. Other berries and other fruits, leaves, the fern, we'll get our browns. So there's plenty that was out there for us to use to make it work for everything we needed to have. Like you say, you wanted some red, Grandma.
Now, so when the sun came up, the 6th day, we knew it was time to go to market to sell our cloth. So my girlfriend and I, we went. It was an hour to walk on the road, and we put our basket on our head. I won't put it on now, but we put our basket with all the folded cloth, different colors. And we go to town, because that's when we see all our friends. So we got to town, and everybody was busy. And you see some of the fruit that she has here. You'd see the oranges and the mangoes and all the beautiful fruit that stacked up beautifully on the stand. And then there were stalls with men standing outside, and behind them were these stacks of beautiful cloth in different colors. So I went to Agabudu, and I said to him, how much you gonna give me for what I got? He said, how much you want? I said, I want 100 bulasa. He said, no, darling, I ain't give you 100. I'll give you 25. I said, no, I want. So we argued about it, but it didn't work out. So I went to the next store. I said, I want 100. He said, no, I can't give you 100, but that's a beautiful blue you got with a little red on it. I'll give you 50. So I took the 50, and I gave me 50. Oh, that was good. So when I finished with that, I went over where the kids were. And there's a little boy that I like, So we look at each other, He came on over to me, and we walked over to one of the trees and sat under the tree, and I put my head on his shoulder, and we talked. I said, what do you want to do when you're inoculated? He said, I want to be a warrior. I didn't like that, but that's what African men did at that time. So anyway, we talked and had a good time, and then we went back to where others were standing and whatnot. We had something to drink, a drink called Marby. It was a good drink. Then I looked, and I saw it's getting dark, the sun. I couldn't see anymore. I said to my friend, come on, we gotta go home. So we started home on the same road. And then I heard something behind me. And I said, what is that? It was a galloping horse. I said, what is this? And before I knew it, I was swept up in a net. And I was dragged. And I was dragged for a long time. And finally, he got off the horse and put me on the back of him. So I had to hold on to him because I didn't want to fall down. So anyway, he galloped and galloped. And next thing I knew, it was morning the next day, and I was a place where there were a lot of men and women and boys and girls, and their hands were tied behind them. I said, what's going on? I said, where's Daddy? Because Daddy had told me, be careful, but I didn't never pay Daddy any mind for that, So anyway, day after, I saw the ship coming. The ship came, and these pale-faced men got off the ship and gave the guy the boy who was, the tribesman who was on the horse, gave him change, some monies was change, some coins and stuff. I didn't understand that. But anyway, they smiled at each other, and then this man, who I learned was the captain of this sailboat, told the men, get on the boat. So they put him on the boat, in the bottom of the boat, and they put us above the boat. Oh, and it was not smooth sailing, and the sailors were not nice. They threw food at us. Oh, it wasn't good. I said, where's my daddy? Oh, I missed it. But he was nowhere. And we sailed, and finally I found out, after we stopped, that we were in a place called Charlestown. Now that was a memory to me, because I remember my grandmother said that there were Africans who had been in Africa and went to Barbados. And from Barbados, they later were taken to South Carolina. And there was a man, Mr. Drayton, who had the first estate in Port Charles. I remember saying that. So this was the same place, but it was years later. Oh, and it was nice. I heard that he was pretty nice to the Africans, but they weren't nice to us. So, but it was a beautiful house. I loved it. And it was the lady, white lady, on the porch, rocking, and a girl. I later learned that was his wife. It was Mr. Eversley's estate. It was his wife, Abigail, and his daughter, Charlotte. Charlotte smiled at me, but I thought I was gonna stay in that house. But I found out that they took us further back, way back, past the plantation, to a little hut house, and that's where we were. And there was several of us, because when we traveled, we were in the back of a car, so that's where we were. So it was awful. It was awful. And I stayed there, and the day I had to pick the cotton, and my hands got bloody. And if you didn't pick 20 bales of cotton a day, you would get beat. So I tried to do that, but it wasn't nice at all being on this plantation. So we continued, but then one night Mr. Eversley told his servant or whoever, said, I want that one to come in the house. So that was nice to be in the house. So I said, oh, well, this is gonna be nice. But when I got there, the Africans who were in the house said, no, he ain't all that nice. So I said, well, he look nice, he handsome and whatever. I don't mean a thing. So anyway, I learned to serve them meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it was okay. But one night, I didn't serve the food right. It was not hot. That pork and the rice and all that was not. And he got up from his chair and slapped me down. I fell to the floor. Oh, it was awful. So I knew that he was not a nice man. And his wife just stood there. She stood there, paid me no mind. So I said, all right. So I went back to my hut. But later that night, he comes there. He comes there and gets in my bed. Now, that wasn't nice, but that's what he did. And that's what he would do. So it wasn't nice at all. And this went on for years. They know, I told them about this before. They know it went on for years. So, finally, one day, one of the tribesmen from another compound said, Grandma, we is gonna be free. I said, Doc, how you gonna be free? You living on plantation, they ain't gonna let you be free. You know what happened with people who run away? One of them got their leg cut off. So forget this freedom. So he said, no, we know how to get to St. Augustine. I said, St. Augustine's a long way off. How you gonna do it? He said, we're gonna leave tomorrow night and we want you to come too. So I said, no, I don't know. But I asked Allah whether I should go. So I went to bed that night. I asked Allah, what should I do? He said, well, you decide. Maybe it's different. Go, try. So I told him the next day, I goes with you. So that night, he said, meet us at that night when the sun goes down. So I said, okay, I'll meet him. So there were 8 of us, different than the first group that went. It was 8 of us, 4 men and 4 women. And I had some food, because I figured I need some food to go. So we started out. Oh, it wasn't good at all. I didn't like that. So they were going north, because they're following the North Star. I said, you can't go north to go to St. Augustine. You gotta go south. So anyway, they started south. So I'm gonna let my friend tell you about that flight south. Cause it was awful. I hated it. She tell you.
Yes, it was a long, hard journey. I come from a place outside of Charlestown in the Carolinas, where I was forced to work on a rice plantation run by the British. It was hard work. And that overseer who rode on a horse and carried a whip would give me a lash across my back every time he thought I wasn't working hard enough or fast enough. I hated that plantation. Word come down to the plantation one day about a place in Spanish Lock, Florida, called St. Augustine. They say if a slave could make it there, they could be free. Oh boy, Master was mad when he heard what the Spanish was offering. He was smoking mad. Cause you know, even before that message came down, slaves was running for their freedom. And those that got caught was brought back to the plantation. And Massa would call everybody on the plantation around to watch as he brutally beat and tortured those runaways. And some of them, he even maimed them, and some he killed.
Yeah.
It was bad. But even with everything he did, the desire to be free still burned in our souls.
Yes.
And we were
That's right.
determined we were going to be free if we had to die to be free. So it took us a long time to plan to run, because we know what would happen. But late one night, with just the clothes on our backs, we ran south, me and 3 others, for our freedom. We was hungry a lot of the time, because we didn't have much food. So we ate berries and whatever we could find along the way. It was hard, real hard. Every step we took, every breath we made, we feared for our lives.
Yeah, but when I was with y'all, when I went, I was so scared I wanted to go back. I said, I'll go back to plantation because there were bees around, and I heard all this noise, and it was an owl. I ain't never heard no owl. I never saw no owl. I was scared. And the alligators were around. Oh, it was awful. It was damp. It was wet. It was awful. And they said to me, no, you ain't going back. We'll help you. So she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, we couldn't come back, no matter what. When I worked in them rice paddies, the stalk was so hard and sharp, my hands were sore, cut and bleeding, and my feet. But I wrapped them the best I could and kept on running. Because we couldn't go back, not back to that plantation, because they was not treating us right, and we wanted to be free. We came to the woods. The trees and the bushes were so thick, we could hardly see. But that was a good thing for us, because it gave us some place to hide. We stayed in the bushes and hide wherever we could to be safe from the slave catchers. We sleep during the day, and we always run at night. We did have some information about the stars and the lights in the sky. They helped to guide us sometime, so that we go in the right direction, but we never did know for sure if it was even close to St. Augustine, but we kept on trying. We came to the swamps. Oh, I tell you, the bugs, oh, they were so bad. They never ate us alive. And then we had to look out for the gators and the snakes and small animals that might do us harm. we was always on the lookout, working to try to get to St. Augustine. It was a hard journey, and we were so hungry.
Oh, I know about
So
that.
full, we were
Yes.
so hungry.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
We kept on running. Even when it rained, we couldn't stop. The weather was bad sometimes, but we kept on running because freedom kept us going. Freedom gave us hope. St. Augustine, oh, days went by, days and days. And I thought, are we even close? Can we make it? But every day we avoided those slave catchers, gave us hope that we was gonna make it to St. Augustine.
Yes, that's right.
Late one night, we was running hard and fast as we could. And I kind of looked off in the distance. And in the shadow of the moonlight, I saw a figure, a tall figure. It looked like a person, a man or something, but they was dressed all different from what I'd ever seen before. So I told others, let's be real quiet. I don't know who that is, but it could be a friend, it could be an enemy. So we got to go real quiet, hide ourselves, and I went around cautiously to see if I could get a better look. Then I saw the man. He had a strange thing on his head, and he didn't see me, but I kept on till I got close enough, and then I noticed he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and I was froze. I'm like, oh man, he done see me now. Oh, please don't let him hurt us. And then he kind of motioned with his hands, and then it made me think, oh, that must be one of them Indians I had heard about before. He's not an enemy. He was doing this. So I thought, well, maybe he's a friend. So I walked toward him, and he began to tell me things, show me things. He was traveling with a group, and he helped us.
Us Native Americans had made deals with the British. We worked with them for a while. Things started to go bad. They started taking our children, slaves, started taking our wives. We fought with them. Some of our Native brothers fought with them on their side. But we decided that we're going to head south. We were very familiar with this part of the country because we had made previous travels on our trade routes and our ceremonies and stuff up and down the coast. So when we traveled in groups. We tried not to leave a trail. We had scouts and looking around on all sides of us. So we knew where we were going. We knew who was around us. We seen the ladies and watched them for a while. We wasn't sure if they were enemy or if they were really in trouble. And we figured out after a while that they were desperate. They needed help. So we came in, we gave them medicine, we gave them food, we helped heal their pain and discomfort, and we led them to La Florida. We did say that we were going to be Catholic, but we also continued on with our ceremonies also. Some of us lived perhaps in the fort, but most of us lived outside the fort. So that was our journey. We even married some of them, some of the ladies that escaped. Thank you.
It was a long journey, but oh, we finally made it to St. Augustine. Sort of, when we got close, I could tell because the Spanish soldiers, we saw them, and they started towards us. But we were scared at first, because we thought maybe they hurt us too. But we made it, and we were so happy to finally be free in St. Augustine.
When we arrived at St. Augustine, the governor provided us with food and families to live with. Even though we were free, we had different feelings. The feelings were fear, trust, anxiety. We didn't know who we could trust. We didn't know who we could stay with. None of that. We didn't even know if the British would attack us again. We didn't know we'd be captured and put back in slavery. We had to do adjustments for a new life. On the frontier I came from, I was enslaved. We had to do whatever we were told. We were never rewarded for none of our profits, our labor. We got no profits for none of our labor. When we arrived to Fort Mose, we were free. We ruled ourselves. We chose the work we wanted to do. But even though at Fort Mose, it was a frontier. It was a hard life. We had to build huts, barracks to live in. The town people, they did warn us about the dangerous animals and the poisonous snakes.
Yes.
We participated with almost every aspect of the community. We built, we gardened, we did food preparations, we did food gatherings, we did house chores, we did child rearing. We had to do sewing. We even did livestock, tending to the livestock. Whatever we had to do, we did it to survive. When we went to the town, we took our herbs and vegetables. And that's how we got our supplies. From there, we decided what work we wanted to do. When we got to Fort Mose, we also did fishing, farming and fishing. That's how we got our food. But once we got that done, we ruled ourselves. We provided food for our families and the Mose community.
Yes.
But we stayed strong and we made it. We became free. So whatever we had to do, we did it.
Yes,
Together.
Yes.
We work together.
We work together. Stay strong and courageous.
Yes.
Yeah. It took that to survive.
Yeah. Sure did.
We would gather our children together and tell them about our regal past in Africa. And then now we are showing them how to stay safe and teaching them how to shoot a musket. We also developed games for them to play. And we also taught them how to create colonial arts and crafts. They made leather necklaces and bracelets, tin ornaments, and tricorn hats. African culture influenced all aspects of everyday life at Fort Mose. It included our dress, our religious practices, and our farming methods. This was the first time that we felt free to enjoy ourselves and to sing and dance our traditional ways.
Yes.
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 And the Spanish adopted the national, the Spanish adopted many traditions of the Native Americans and also the Fort Mose residents. We also express using of their utilities that we call the potteries for food and for food storage. That's when we started to live our life.
Yes.
Okay.
Real.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was quite a change, as I said before, from being on plantation. but it was not easy as they've been telling you, kind of thing. Now, the first battle we won, because you hear about the Battle of Fort Mose all the time. Now, that was a good battle, and it was a great captain of that. That was Francisco Menendez. And we thank him because he had been an African, Mandingo African, and had been enslaved and then worked for a family in St. Augustine, and then he became the leader to win the first battle. The second battle we didn't win. Second battle was Oglesby, English, British, and he was able to overcome the militia and won, unfortunately. Now, as a result of his winning, that's why we speak English here rather than Spanish, he said that a treaty went through that St. Augustine would be given to the British. So that's what happened. Now, the folks like myself who had been enslaved and freed didn't want to be under the British anymore, because I told you how the British treated us. So many of them went to town and organized in town and lived in town, but a lot of them got a boat and went to Cuba. And there's a big development there in Cuba, and they're doing a lot of research out here in Cuba to find that original group that was there. So that was an important development that happened in terms. So there's quite a link between St. Augustine and Fort Mose and the Cuba. So that was important. So all they're talking about is the freedom. It takes a lot to be free and to stay free. You gotta have courage, you gotta have resilience, and you gotta stick to it. And that's what we all did. I started it and telling them about it, you see. You need a lot of people to know about it. But their mothers knew about it, and so they know the story. So that's why they've been telling you a lot about the story. So that's where it is, just a little bit of what was going on. So the book isn't here for you all to get today, but hopefully you will. But that's our story. It's a great story. It's an American story, not just a black story or a Spanish story. It's an American story. So I'll let my friend, Mary, tell you, finish it up for us.
Well, as you said, you've heard our story. And we hope that you have been entertained and informed, as I said before. But the most important thing that I want you to take away this evening is do not leave here thinking that this is a story about slavery or oppression or downtrodden people. Amen. This is a story about a group of courageous, strong women who, down through the years, made personal sacrifices in comfort and sometimes of their lives. They did whatever was necessary to ensure that things were better, not just for them, but for their communities, for their children, for whatever they needed to do to ensure that they could be free. That is the story of the courageous women of Fort Mose. Thank you. This ends our presentation.
I'd like to introduce the cast tonight. Stage right all the way on the end is our good friend, Miss Alma Melvin. Big hand. Next to her is our good friend, Charmin Russell. Next to her is Mildred Williams. Next to Standing right here is Ida Swernigan. Next to Ida is Twyla Hudson. I don't know if you guys know this lady in the middle. Dr. G. Israel. Thank you all very much. You can be seated. I'm going to be bringing Dr. Jane Mahoney up, and this is a very special lady to all of us too, so I want you all, when she comes out here, to give her a big hand, because she is very helpful in everything that we've done here. So, where is she? Don't be tripping over stuff back here. You know, they say don't be tripping. Oh, I missed one.